HSA is that we offer paternity testing, we offer DNA, which is part of the DNA services. We offer drug testing, so when individuals come for pre-employment drug screening, they come here. We also offer services for drug rehabilitation for clients, and we have other services which include clients such as the RCIPS and CBC, Customs Border Control, and the judiciary, so the courts. It's important for Cayman to have a forensics lab because of the services I just mentioned, but also in more recent events with the need for COVID testing, we already had the majority of the equipment required, so that we just had to train lab personnel to do the protocols required for the COVID PCR testing. So once the pandemic hit us last year, we weren't scrambling to send any samples overseas or anything like that. We were able to provide testing on island, and we've worked it so that you can get your PCR test done within 24 hours. So you didn't have to worry about sending them overseas, having a long wait time or anything like that. And also, we can also extend our services to other jurisdictions within the Caribbean. We provide DNA testing services for cases that come from Belize. We can provide to other Caribbean islands that don't have a functioning forensics DNA lab. So being accredited and being within the hospital here in Cayman has pushed us very far ahead of the curve. So having the forensics lab here at the HSA is very beneficial to the average person, because when they come to do their regular, for example, government medical for their pre-employment, they just come down the hallway and they have their drug screening done down here, as well as, x-rays and their blood work and so on. In addition to that, we can offer paternity testing, which before our lab was up and running, we had to send those overseas, which took probably up to a month possibly to get back. But we offer it within 2 to 3 weeks turnaround time. So that's very beneficial for patients or clients who are looking to have paternity done for, say, immigration purposes, and they're rushing to get that paperwork in. Also, because we offer drug chemistry, when it comes to any cases that come in for the RCIPS, they don't have to worry about sending any of that overseas. It is done here on island. Therefore, the judiciary system can tend to those cases in a speedily manner. In addition to what I just mentioned, it's also a cost savings to the patients and the clients that come in, because we offer it on island versus having it sent overseas. I was inspired by the forensic scientist that was here. His name was Dr. David Shadell. I came as a summer intern when I had just finished high school, not knowing anything about the department. It was pre-CSI Las Vegas type TV shows, and I was blown away by the lab work that we did here, they did here. It was so interesting, and I'm a hands-on type of person. I realized my passion was doing laboratory work, doing chemistry, doing DNA, when I was in university. So it was always refreshing every morning coming into the lab, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And it's important for females to get into these roles, because no longer is it just thought of as only men can do this. We can all do this. If we put our minds to it, we can all do science. Coming here as a summer intern really opened up my eyes, and I really am an advocate for HSA summer internship program that they put on every year. We currently have had about 4 or 5 interns come through our lab just this summer, with 3 or more to come next week. And it's been a joy to see the Caymanians, the young adults, coming into our lab and learning and getting hands-on experience. And some of them have even said, wow, I never thought I would enjoy science, and now I'm rethinking what I'm going to go off to study. And it warms my heart to know that we are paving the way for them to know that there are other fields of interest within the hospital. It's not just doctors and nurses, but there are other departments here, and it is a great internship program that they put on. And I look forward to meeting more interns and hoping to inspire them to come back home to Cayman and work within the HSA.
So I decided to become a molecular biologist because, well, that was my undergraduate degree that I was studying at the time, and I was flipping between doing that and law. But I had a lot of friends who were in medicine, and I had kind of medical journey, and one of the things that I noticed was that genetics sort of played an understated role in medicine. And so I decided to investigate that a little bit more, because I figured if genetics is the cause for so many diseases, why doesn't it feature as a bigger part of medical care? And so when I sort of went and met people who are doing that sort of work, where they're intersecting genetics into healthcare, I realized that this is a big issue at the forefront of molecular biology, and it was very exciting. And so I got pulled into that direction and decided like that's what I wanted to do. So my role in the lab is I'm the leader of the genome sequencing project at HSA. So essentially we have 2 machines donated by the R3 Foundation, and that's the Illumina MySeq to my left, and then the Oxford Nanopore MinION. And the primary purpose of these machines is to determine the strains, the variants of COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2, and then inform public health and the CMO. And then the sort of secondary and tertiary purposes of the machine are for public health initiatives, so breast cancer screening, newborn screening, and then eventually things like coral research and so on. So my role is to develop the protocols and the techniques for being able to perform those services locally. So I've kind of used my primary role here to train young Caymanians. So in the last, I'd say 2 months, I've trained 5, and we're currently training a couple more, because I feel like molecular science, life sciences in general, are very small part of the kind of scope of the Cayman Islands at the moment, and a lot of people don't consider those career paths in Cayman. So being able to at least highlight that the lab is here and that we're doing very advanced techniques and you can make a career out of this sort of work, I think is a primary purpose I found in this role. So my average day would be, there are kind of 2 answers to this. One is that you have a sort of normal 9 to 5, which happens occasionally, and then the other is I'll come into the lab, perform the PCR COVID testing with my colleagues, and then we would prepare for batching the next week of sequencing. So every week we perform sequencing runs, and we have to determine which samples to put on which batch. Basically, it's a process of organization, but also a bit of an investigative process, because you have to have reasons for sequencing certain things. Otherwise, the value of it may not be as useful as sequencing other viral samples. So in terms of doing that, and then from the previous run, I analyze the data and put that into a results spreadsheet and send that to public health and the CMO. The other aspect of my work throughout the day is to develop standard operating procedures for new testing services we're trying to get online. So the breast cancer sequencing and the coral sequencing in particular. And that takes a lot of kind of research and discussion with other collaborating labs in other parts of the world to see what would work best here for what we're trying to do. It's important to have Caymanians in these types of careers because at the moment, there's a very limited scope for the career paths that a lot of Caymanians can look to get into. And so it's very competitive because we also bring in expertise around the world at that level. And so being able to compete on a world stage in your own country is a very daunting task. And for at least from Cayman's perspective, if we were able to expand life sciences into potentially another industry, then that would give Caymanians another avenue in terms of searching for their careers. It also allowed them to go and get this, have the skills here to go overseas and get careers in other labs. So it opens the door for a lot of potential career pathways, really. I'm not sure if it could be understated, really, the importance, because if we didn't have the ability to test for the virus or do so in a very fast turnaround time, then our ability to tackle and understand the spread of the virus throughout the island would just be very, very poor. And so having that sort of insight into the spread and being able to contact trace and determine if someone's positive or negative within a few hours has allowed public health and government to have the sort of amazing responses that we've seen so that we can all kind of more or less resume a normal life over the last year. So the capability of the lab to meet those challenges has enabled us to have, the kind of situation we're in right now. And that's the whole idea of the genome sequencing, is that in the event of certain things happening, right, we have another level of reassurance to be able to determine the movement of the virus between individuals that are positive, if it should ever happen. And also be able to make effective policy changes based on the kind of variants we're seeing being spread, the nature of that type of spread. Is it something that's happening at a faster rate than we've seen before? Is it something that's breaking through vaccine efficacy? Those things, and that will guide policies with respect to bringing people here and allowing free movement. So it's really critical to have a good lab setup and an adaptive lab response when it comes to pandemics and public health screening in general.
I knew I wanted to have a career in this field because I knew it would be a field that would allow me to use a lot of the skills that I learned during my studies, while also allowing me to expand my skill set by learning new skills in the field of forensics. And while also being able to interact with and work with members of my community and really just exploring the career options that are available in the forensics field and figuring out what it is I really want to do. I honestly love seeing Caymanian women in the field of science. I feel like science especially was such a male-dominated industry, and I really love being able to see women, but especially Caymanian women, because for a long time it was a lot of men and also non-Caymanian men that were dominating the science field here in Cayman. So it's really empowering and really special to see Caymanian women pursuing more careers in STEM. I would say I haven't been working here long, but this work has definitely taken me out of my comfort zone, but in a really good way. I think I was used to working in a lab, with test tubes and not really interacting with people as much, but now there's a lot more patient contact in what I do, and I think it has really helped me open my eyes, and it's something that I realized that I actually really enjoy doing. So I definitely say it did take me out of my comfort zone, but in a really great way. I would really encourage more people to consider a career in forensics. I think it's a field that's often overlooked. Even when people do pursue STEM careers, I think it's a field that a lot of people would be very interested in, and again, it's really rewarding and fulfilling to be able to interact with members of your community and to help out.
Thank you for watching GIS Spotlight. For more info, visit us on www.gis.gov.ky. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Flickr, Twitter, and YouTube. This is a production of GIS Marketing and Communications.
The Cayman Islands government remains committed to leading on campaigns that promote cyber safety. One of our focus areas is on children and young persons who may be particularly vulnerable to online scams, cyberbullying, and other forms of exploitation. This year, my department took on a cohort of 10 talented and exceptional cyber interns, and they embraced the challenge of producing this information video for you. I do hope you enjoy it.
In the virtual world, we can never truly trust anyone we meet. Sure, we sometimes make some of our best friends in an online space, especially when playing games like Fortnite or Call of Duty. But there are many times where the people we meet aren't who they say they are. Always be careful about confiding in strangers. With the protection of a screen, you never know who anyone really is unless you've met in person.
Cyberbullying is when someone uses the internet to try to embarrass, threaten, or shame someone. This is done through your phone or your computer, which allows you to connect with others on social media channels such as Instagram and Facebook. This makes it very easy for someone to be targeted, as it's a wider scope and less of a possibility of holding someone accountable. Be mindful of what you do, say, and share to others.
As we know, schools are out for the summer, which means that children are either at summer camps or staying at home all day using their digital devices such as phones, tablets, or laptops in order to stay entertained. There are many procedures parents can take into account to make sure that the kids are having fun while being safe on the internet, such as blocking inappropriate websites, updating all devices with Ask a Parent feature, and slightly monitoring their interactions with others online.
Well, scammers are people who will reach out to you online through your phone, tablet, or computer to try to deceive you or lure you in like bait. They will use things you are interested in, such as fake reward ads or fake emails that state you won, or they may ask for some form of payment or personal information. Watch out for these signs and stay alert in order to avoid being scammed.
When browsing the internet, suspicious websites may offer you free versions of otherwise paid games and services. By accepting these offers and clicking on the website download links, you're not only pirating, which is illegal, but you're also giving the website permission to install their software onto your computer. Even if you get what you were originally looking for, you put yourself at the risk of introducing malware onto your computer that may show you ads, slow down your computer, or even spy on what you do and steal your information. Remember, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
When playing games online, there are always people that are going to try to play you. It's every person's responsibility to protect themselves by making sure not to give any information they can use against you, such as your real name, password, or credit card information. Whenever possible, you should be careful of who you talk to and unfriend people that make you feel uncomfortable.
Most of these emails will have bad spelling and grammar, or will use company logos to deceive you and get you to send your personal info directly to them. More so, they tend to use language that evokes a sense of urgency, such as free in-game currency for a limited time, which can interest younger people as they don't want to miss out on these opportunities.
It is common to feel afraid in situations like these, but it's also best to remain calm and consider doing the following for your safety. Do not engage or entertain such threats. Always feel free to report the user to the police or someone you trust and block any further communication.
You run the risk of meeting a stranger online that might be a catfish. After becoming friends with you, they may become very demanding. They may even ask you for inappropriate photos, to video call, or to send them money. So it's important to be careful who you become friends with online to avoid manipulation.